I'm Brandon Warren, and coming up, we'll talk about how the reopening of the Canadian border will benefit Yellowstone County.
I'm Meg Oliver at Billings Clinic in Montana, where their ICU is operating at 175% capacity. Will they have to start rationing care?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us midweek. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Those stories in just a moment. But first, a Colstrip family is thanking their lucky stars tonight after getting repeatedly denied for an emergency surgery at all of Montana's major hospitals, even those here in Billings. But they finally found an out-of-state hospital that had room amid a massive rise in COVID cases clogging up beds. As Q2's Andrea Lutz reports, the family wants others to know the risk that you may face if an emergency strikes.
It is no secret that COVID cases are on the rise in Montana. In fact, on Wednesday alone, over 1,300 new cases in our state. It is having an impact on our hospitals and emergency departments, with many of them operating at capacity. But what happens when in that situation, critical care is denied? Where do families needing emergency surgery turn?
We were even going like Bismarck, Dickinson, Rapid City.
Time was of the essence for Jeanelle Loining's husband, Sean.
On Monday, he was just not doing well. He was in severe pain, and I said, you have to go to the emergency room.
He had a perforation in his bowel, which at any other time but the pandemic might be an easy fix.
I guess I never realized it was this bad.
Turns out,
no, we can't take you. We don't have the staffing. No, we can't take you. We don't have the surgeon.
They were denied at every turn.
So you're telling me my husband was going to die because you guys are overwhelmed with COVID?
What were the hospitals saying to you?
Most of the time it was, well, we're diverting patients as it is now. I was getting frustrated, and so I would be like, are you serious? So if I just put him in the car and showed up, you would turn us away? And they basically said yes.
I checked in with both Billings Clinic and St. Vincent. Officials saying extremely high patient numbers across Montana means hospital resources may be stretched at times. And while operating rooms continue to remain open, they're making every effort to provide for the region's needs, including life-saving care. Loining says her husband's situation was so dire when he finally got to Cody late Tuesday night.
When he first got there, they couldn't start surgery right away because his blood pressure tanked to the point that they were saving his life at that point. He absolutely was as critical as they come.
And while she's grateful he finally got the surgery he needs, she has a pretty meaningful message for other families who might find themselves in the same dire situation.
You can't help but cry. You can't help but think of the ones that maybe didn't get the help because they didn't push or they didn't know. I just wasn't going to stop. I wasn't taking no for an answer.
And also in response, hospital officials tell me that they advise anyone seeking immediate and critical care to get out there and find it. Well, that is exactly what the Loining family was forced to do. In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
And there's no relief in sight for Montana hospitals as the state surpassed a record high number of COVID patients today. At this hour, there are 510 patients across Montana, the most since the pandemic began. 142 of those are right here in Billings, with 43 in the ICU and 31 on ventilators. The state also reports 16 new deaths today, 3 of them in Yellowstone County. 349 Yellowstone County residents have died from the virus, more than 2,100 across the state. Despite COVID-related hospitalizations reaching an all-time high, just 57% of Montana's eligible population is vaccinated. CBS's Meg Oliver made a trip to Billings and has the story of one patient in intensive care and a family that's trying to give her strength.
Oh my gosh. Pam Lee fights back tears as her 35-year-old daughter Hillary tries to wave through the window.
Love you too.
After months of waiting, the restaurant manager with no health issues was planning to get the vaccine when she got COVID. Within 2 weeks, she was on a ventilator.
I was a nurse for over 40 years, and so I knew this could happen. I was praying it never would, but here we are.
How does her prognosis look?
I can't even go there. I can't even go there. She's only alive because of this machine.
I don't know why people aren't more scared of what we're seeing every day with this.
Dr. Jamie Belsky is vice chair of the emergency department at Billings Clinic. She says if the number of patients does not start to fall, the hospital will have to consider rationing care.
How do you get more people vaccinated to stop this? They have to spread the word.
One of Dr. Belsky's former patients is helping her get the word out.
When I saw you 2 weeks ago, you could barely breathe.
Oh, I know.
We met 59-year-old Frank Miller in September after a long battle with COVID-19, which compromised his motor skills. Now in a rehab center,
Nice and easy.
he's learning how to walk and eat again.
I would advise that maybe everybody should go and get the shot.
Meanwhile, patients like Lee are fighting to survive.
Hillary, your mama's out there.
When you look at her, what do you think?
I can't even think. It's just painful to watch. And these things can be prevented.
Painful to watch.
It's very painful.
The Lees wanted to talk to us to let us know when Hillary got COVID. She spent the first 10 days calling all her unvaccinated friends, urging them to get the shot. Her family can only hope it's not too late for her. Meg Oliver, CBS News, Billings, Montana.
And Q2 Chief Meteorologist Ed McIntosh joining us now. Ed, the eastern part of our state is still feeling the effects of that storm.
It's really feeling them through the day, and it's starting to ease up tonight. Now, here's a look at our high-resolution forecast as that system lifts out. The blue shaded areas show the snow moving out, but some of the wind and the blue arrows will remain for a while. Here's some pictures from around the region from today. Check out Government Hill. This is in the Miles City area. Some wet, slushy snow there. They even have trouble trying to measure it just because it's been coming down in doses over the last couple of days. Baker, look at the visibility there, or the lack of it, with some blowing snow. Alzada also seeing some serious travel concerns. And let's take a look around Ekalaka, because the road just totally disappeared there. We'll take a closer look at the forecast details coming up in a few minutes.
And after 19 months of pandemic precaution, the U.S. borders will reopen to non-essential travel come November. Travel between the United States and Canada and between the U.S. and Mexico has been restricted to essential travel since the start of the pandemic. The Biden administration's new rules will allow fully vaccinated foreign nationals to enter the U.S. by early next year. Now, all travelers entering the U.S. will need to be fully vaccinated. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says the U.S. will accept travelers who have been fully vaccinated with any of the vaccines approved for emergency use by the World Health Organization, not just those here in the U.S. Well, Montana's governor and congressional delegation have been vocal about reopening the border, and all expressed their thoughts today. Governor Gianforte saying, though long overdue, reopening the northern border is welcome news to Montanans whose families, businesses, and communities have suffered for many months from the Biden administration's continued closure of the U.S.-Canada border. Republican Senator Steve Daines, while happy with the news, would like Biden to go even further, saying, quote, while I'm glad to see President Biden take this initial step to reopen the U.S.-Canada border for vaccinated Canadians, I urge him to end all restrictions and fully reopen the northern border. Montanans are depending on it. And Democratic Senator John Tester applauded the decision and says he will continue to fight as well, saying, quote, I'm glad that the Biden administration listened to me and the thousands of Montanans who fought back against this short-sighted policy. And I will continue pushing to make sure that the northern border reopens as quickly and as safely as possible. Now the question remains, what impact will this decision have on Yellowstone County? For that answer, we turn to Q2's Brandon Warren.
The reopening of the Canadian border will benefit Yellowstone County by giving opportunities for tourism and international trade.
Annually, Billings sees over 2.6 million tourists a year, and according to the Institute for Tourism and Recreation Research, in 2014, roughly 14% of Montana's total visitors were from Canada.
So to have our borders reopen and have people who would typically visit, spend, and invest in our communities in Montana be able to return is a very important next step for us in economic recovery.
The border reopening will not only benefit businesses here, but also Canadian tour companies visiting Montana.
We typically see a lot of international tourists that actually road trip around the state. We work with foreign tour operators and companies to help facilitate itineraries and attractions and things for them to do while they're here. And so this year, not having that has hurt our businesses, but it also affects those that we're working with in the foreign trade market and missing those that visitation and that business.
Canada is Montana's largest trade partner, and although a large percentage of the trade is through pipelines, Big Sky Economic Development says a closed border still has a big impact.
During the closures, it represented a 24% decrease in bilateral trade with Canada, so minerals, oil, and gas.
Montana and Yellowstone County also see a large number of construction workers come in from Canada.
The Canadian and Mexican border will reopen for fully vaccinated travelers in the beginning of November. In Billings, Brandon Warren, MTN News.
Still ahead on the MTN 530 News here on Q2, why carrying some extra change while shopping at your local dollar store will soon be important. We'll tell you why straight ahead.